Everyone, welcome back. It's Melanie, your She Shed Scrapper. So today I am back with a 2-page layout using the Acorn Lane collection from Simple Stories. I am also using this basket of apples from Paige Evans. This is a cut file, and if you've been following along, you know that I really don't enjoy backing cut files, and so I decided to try something different with this layout. So what I did is I ended up kind of tracing the leaves through the cut file onto my base page, and then I'm going to take some ink. This is my Close to My Heart ink, and I kind of wanted to over exaggerate the leaves. I didn't want it to be perfect. I was okay with some ink kind of being outside of the cut file, if that makes sense. So what I did, I saw someone else do this too, is kind of squeeze the ink pad, and then that put enough ink on the lid where I could add a little bit of water and kind of use that as my palette, I guess. So I am just doing 3 different colors. I believe it's Scarlet, Pumpkin, and maybe Sundance. And so I'm just doing the leaves. I don't think I make you watch all of it because I do end up doing the basket and the leaves as well, the apple leaves as well. I did decide though that I would back the apples, and so I backed the apples with that kind of, I don't know, rust color paper with the light pink hearts, and just did the apples, and then decided to work on the basket a little bit more. So I did the same process with the basket, or I guess I'm going to, the basket, where I, traced it and then inked it. Again, I did not need it to be perfect. I actually did try to leave some of the brush strokes in the leaves and especially in the basket, so that it did look almost distressed, or like the veins in the leaves. I kind of, while I was inking it, kind of had that idea in mind that it didn't need to be perfect, because leaves aren't perfect, baskets aren't perfect. And so once I kind of complete the basket, I put the cut file back on and realized that the handle of the basket kind of, I don't know, blends in a little bit. So I am going to end up backing that with kind of almost like a chicken wire paper that I have. But then I am going to do the same process with the inking at the top for the leaves of the apples as well. So now that everything is done, I'm going to just tape that back on to the page, and quite honestly, I think I only added tape to the apples and kept the rest kind of off the page. Not really for any specific reason, but I actually kind of like the way that it looks. I was able to then kind of overlap the leaves on some of the paper that I put on the bottom. So I placed my photos kind of where I want them for the layout, and then I went into the papers to kind of figure out what papers would look best with the colors that I used for the cut file, and decided on the 2 that you can see at the bottom. I am going to just do strips of paper at the top and a strip at the bottom, just to kind of keep it simple. I wanted some pattern in it, but also I didn't want to take away from the cut file because I really enjoy the way that turned out. I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous about trying something new, especially kind of, I guess you could call it watercolors almost. Not something that I usually dabble in, but I do really like the way that looks and turned out. I did practice ahead of time when I came up with the idea, just to make sure that it would kind of work, and only because I didn't want to ruin an entire layout if it didn't. So I'm just going to add the strips of paper. The 2 photos on page 1, I am just going to place right on the page and just stack them one on top of the other. You could see in the beginning of the video where I kind of placed them there just so I had a good idea of where to place my cut file. With using the pencil, you can see that I was erasing some of the pencil marks. I tried to go really light on them. I was able to erase some of it. There are still some kind of showing from underneath. Not enough to really, I don't know. For my first time, I'm okay with it, I guess. If somebody looks through my album and really wants to be picky, maybe they'll point it out. But I don't think it's, I guess, dark enough or noticeable enough to really do much more about it. So I did place the two 4x6 photos right on page 2 as well, only because that is French vanilla. And so I decided that I would just leave that gap, and then it would kind of look like the photos are backed already. I did, however, double back this 4x4 photo that's going to kind of overlap, just because I wanted it to kind of stand out a little bit more. And so I did double back that and then pop that up on some foam tape. I am using that little cut apart. It just filled in that space really nicely, and it was already cut and matched the bottom paper. So I added that to page 2. And then had to kind of figure out where or what to embellish. I thought the Hello Fall would be my title, but then the top of page 1 was a little bare. And so I found this Forever Thankful. I think it's ephemera from the Simple Pages maybe. And just thought that worked so nicely because it is such a large title. It filled in most of that space really well. There are some birds on some limbs, and so I did add that to the top of page 2, the top left. And I have a flare from Scrap and Happy Studio. Those are the canvas flares, that heart, and I just thought that looked really great. The colors matched perfectly up there, so I'm going to add that. And then I did add just a small floral cluster to kind of spruce up the title on page 1 a little bit as well. I just have so much of the collection. I was just kind of trying to figure out, now that I kind of had an idea of those 2 clusters, where else I could embellish and what to use to embellish. I am going to end up using that journaling spot on page 2. I thought that was a really good kind of piece to fill in that open space at the bottom there, and I am just going to try and spruce that up with a few embellishments as well, some greenery, some sprigs, and just kind of have fun with, I guess, embellishing and kind of rounding out that journaling spot. And then I like to bring in like embellishment pieces if possible. And so I did add a bird to the title at the top. And then I am going to have a small cluster at the bottom of page 1. And that is just going to have a cluster of leaves and another little bird. I do add some phrase stickers to the bottom of the journaling spot on page 2. And then in my stash, I have some gold metal leaves, and I've had them for a little bit, and so I decided to really utilize them on this layout. I think I'm getting ahead of myself, but I am going to bring those in and kind of add those to each of the clusters. So you can see that's what I'm doing right there. It's hard to see, but in the close-ups you can really see the gold leaves. Once I kind of do that, I did decide to add a little bit to the cut apart at the top, just a couple of leaves, and that kind of enabled me to kind of use up more of the gold leaves as well. And with those gold leaves, all I do is really just use my tape to tape those down. You could definitely use your tacky glue for sure, but the tape works well, and depending on, I guess, where you put the tape on the back, you can't really see through it that much, I don't think. So I am just going to kind of fill in around the cut apart at the top, and I think that's about going to finish off the layout. Adding just a couple more gold leaves, but here's that close up and you can really see the gold there. I did add a couple of the stickered brads to the clusters as well, but that is going to finish off this layout. This is a newer collection, so I will definitely link it down below if you guys are interested. I think it's a beautiful fall collection, but I hope you guys enjoyed this layout and we will see you next time. Bye guys.